Welcome everyone to this Let's Play of Kerbal Space Program Release 1.0. Now you can see that we now have a number of contracts that we can complete here with Gene. He has been working very hard to get us these contracts. And we've developed some interest not only from businesses but also VIPs. And these VIPs appear to want to go on suborbital space flights, and they are willing to pay a handy amount of funds for us to do that. But notice the reputation gain. If we send an individual, we get 20 reputation. But if we send two together, we only get 19. But the actual funds remain the same. So I think I'm going to ferry two separate Kerbals on the same flight for their suborbital journey to earn twice the amount of reputation. So let's do that. Let's accept that contract. Let's accept the second contract, and then let's pop outside of KSC and do a little bit of housekeeping. Now, as you can see, we've actually got quite a lot of funds, so I think it's about time we start upgrading some of our facilities. So I think we should upgrade the launch pads. If you right click on that, it's only going to be 75,000 funds to increase the maximum vessel weight and size, so let's do that. So that's 75, and I also think we should spend some money on the VAB as well. If we right click that, that is 225,000 funds, that's about half of what we have, but it will mean we can get a lot more parts on our vehicles, so let's upgrade that. So that gives us a bigger VAB and more parts to our vehicle. I think we will retain the amount of funds we have here at the moment. We won't upgrade anything else, but we do have some science. So let's head inside to the science building and spend some of that. Now this is where some of the choices in KSC become a little bit tricky. So we have this layer of the tech tree, which is all 45 science. We could get advanced rocketry, and that includes the LV909 Terrier engine, and this is excellent. A very, very good engine for orbital maneuvers, for satellites, for transfers. It's excellent, particularly within the Kerbal system. General construction has a number of parts, not least of which is the strut connector, space tape, vital for your larger vehicles. Now, aviation is not something I am particularly keen on, but it does now contain new parts, such as this fixed landing gear. There's also new tail fins and wing sections, so I really must get into my vehicles, my aeroplanes, because I think there's a lot of science that can be gathered from them. Flight control contains one of my favourite parts, the scriptable control system from KOS. Absolutely brilliant. And along with that, we get the inline reaction wheel, which is pretty vital on your smaller craft to keep them pointing in the right direction. And finally down here we have basic science, and that includes the D-Magic orbital telescope. We have the ScanSat radar altimetry sensor. We also get a probe body, battery, and our thermometer. Finally, we get our comms DTS M1, which is a little bit cosmetic at the moment because we don't have remote tech. But the thermometer and the orbital telescope, they could be very, very useful parts. We only have 45 science, we can only unlock one, and as much as I do want my scriptable control system, and as much as we could use this little Terrier LV909 engine, I think we're going to have to go for parts. I think where there is a choice, I think we absolutely need to go for parts. So let's research that section. Gets us our thermometer and of course a battery for when we go around the dark side. And I think that will help us gain a lot more science, particularly early on, where we need to unlock quite a few of these nodes to get anywhere significant, such as aeroplanes and our control systems, and of course our LV909 rocket. So let's head on over to the VAB and get our tourists into space. Now we don't have a multiple person capsule yet, so we're just going to have to knock together 3 of these capsules in order to carry our tourists and our pilot. So that is going to be our launch payload. That's what we are going to send into space. Now we do actually want to get them back. Getting them back successfully is part of the mission. So let's put the parachute here on the top and get some radial mount parachutes as well, just to carry the load. I have no idea how heavy this is going to be and how much these parachutes are really needed to bring the whole lot down safely. So that is going to be hopefully a safe transportation section. Now, in order to remain safe, we will of course need our heat shield, like so, and we will get our Kerbal engineering system, and we will squeeze one of those on the top like so. So that's our engineering system. Help us know when we are going to be going suborbital. Fine, fantastic. Now I think we should also get, there we go, our thermometer, and see if we can get out, let's stick it on the back here, let's see if we can get a little bit of extra science while we are at it. So there we go, that's our launch vehicle. Right, what do we need now? We need something to get into space. Now we're going to have to use quite a few of these. Oh, we forgot our decoupler. Let's get a decoupler in there. Now we're going to need quite a few of these cans, which Alt-click, and I think Alt-click again. So that is our launch stack, and for an engine we will get ourselves our swivel, because that'll help us with steering. So that in itself is 2,500 delta V, which is pretty good, but I think we do need to do a little bit more for a successful contract. So let's get a couple of these decouplers in place and use some Thumper solid fuel boosters. If you put those down a little, I think. So right, there we go. So the ship can actually sit on the bottom of those thrusters. Now that's 3,381, doing pretty well there, I think. So let's get aerodynamics, let's get some winglets to help us, not 6, let's get 4. There we go, help us keep on the straight and narrow. They straight? No, they're not straight. Need to bring it around one tick. There we go, is that better? That's just as bad. So it needs to come round an extra tick. There we go. There we go, that's better. Yep, that's better, fine. Okay, so that's excellent. So let's make sure we've got our staging right, and then let's just double check what this vehicle is capable of. So we have plenty of delta V, so let's just reduce the thruster weight ratio as well. Let's bring this down to, there we are. 1.82 should be fine. 1.82 should be fine. We don't need anything more than 2, or we'll just be wasting fuel against air pressure, so there's no much point in doing that. We can throttle back a bit on our LVT45, because we only need that for steering really, because we don't yet have the reaction wheel that I mentioned over in the science building. So I think this is good to go. So let's call this Tour Mark 1. It will be for 2 Kerbals, passengers and 1 pilot. So let's make sure we have the pilot in place. We have Jeb, and let's add our tourists to the empty pod. Tanke and Alette Kerman. So let's see how they fare on this mission. So let's save this ship and head on out to the launch pad and get them on their suborbital flight. Right, it's a little bit cloudy today, so it's a little bit dark. Never mind, a little bit of a long shadow. The sun is mid-morning, so I think we are ready to go. Tanke, Jeb and Alette are in position. Now we have a science alert for our temperature scan, so we'll take that. Only 2.4 science, but we will take that. We are all ready to go. So let's get the throttle up for the moment. Let's get the SAS on and let's launch away. Close up our science alert. Now I've got new version of the rockets, these hot rockets, so they look a little bit different, a little bit cosmetically different. but otherwise a nice gentle ascent, having reduced the thrust from our solid fuel boosters. Now I'm going to start just gently turning, because I find that sudden turns with the new thicker atmosphere that we find ourselves with on Kerbin can prove a little bit tricky for doing manoeuvres. Sudden manoeuvres are definitely out of the question. So let's get ourselves turned over towards that 90-degree mark. Pulling it over. Good thing we've got the LVT 909, LVT 45. There we go, staging away. So much more manoeuvrable now. We've got rid of that weight. So let's get right over to our 45-degree angle. There we go. Tanke and Alette may well be regretting their choice. Their choice of holiday. Let's have a look. Science alert again. Do a crew report from Kerbin's upper atmosphere for another 4.5 science. So let's keep that. We're going up to 35 kilometres now. Accelerating away quite nicely. Above the clouds, a little bit brighter now. Those fins keeping us pointed in the right direction. Just about to get through the thinnest part of the atmosphere at 59-60 kilometres. So this is almost exactly the right amount of fuel. There we go, 70 kilometres. We're going to be suborbital for our two tourists, who are a little bit happier now. So let's cut that engine. I think they are much happier now. They have a better view. So, to be honest, that's all there is to it for these simple tourist experiments. I didn't tell them we were experimenting on the tourists, did I? I wonder if someone's invented a contract for experimenting on unwitting tourists. I'm sure Tanke and Alette would not appreciate that. But we are now at 62 kilometres, just coming up 62 kilometres. A apoapsis of just over 91 kilometres, so that's perfect for what we need for this contract. So let's just check our contracts. We still have this automatic Kerbin world first, but you can see we have now successfully gone suborbital for our tourists. So thank you very much, tourists. We can do another crew report. Oh dear, it's trying to do a crew report from one of our tourists, which is probably no good at all. So let's find... now we've already got a crew report, so we can't overwrite it anyway, which is why I was trying to get the tourist to do the crew report. I mean, come on! You're in space, for heaven's sakes, do some work. But there we go, we'll have to sort that out later, and there's a little trick for that. But in the meantime, I think we need to get Tanke and Alette back down to Kerbin. So let's use up what little fuel we have left and just slow ourselves down a little. There we go, just turn retrograde. You can see the engine twitching there as it tries to silently help us rotate. There we go, so let's just empty fuel out of this section and separate away. So we are now going back to Kerbin, just about to reach our apoapsis, and we're going to go back on our way down. And I don't think Tanke and Alette appreciated that, but Jeb, of course, it's all par for the course for Jeb. So there we are, we're back on our way down. Yep, Tanke and Alette a bit happier now. So let's just get ready for the descent. We will use a little bit of time warp, I think, to get us back down to about here. That sort of height there. So let's just warp away. Time warp will cut out when we reach the top of the atmosphere. There you go. And now we go into physics time warp. Let's keep ourselves pointing more or less directly down. Retrograde marker will catch us up. Here we go. There's our aerodynamic effects. We're a little bit over. If we right click our various parts, see our temperature, heat shield is well within operating temperature, and I don't think parachutes, because because they're inside the air envelope, are that much affected. So that's excellent. So we are now at 5,000 meters up. It's about time we popped our parachutes and switched the SAS off. G-forces allowing, I think Tanker and Alette are now safely headed for the surface. So let's see what our science alert is going to give us. Another crew report. We can't replace the existing crew report yet, so that's no good. But we need one or two more things to do before we can successfully use our little trick. So I'm sure you all know what that trick is, but I'll leave you waiting just in case you don't. So there we are, 1,300 meters up, 56 meters per second, with our parachute still only partially open. So I think we'll be fine when we go through 500. So there we are, 600 meters. And there's our parachutes opening safely. Down to 4 meters a second. Anything under 10, as I've said before, is perfect. So let's use time warp to get us back down to splashdown. There's our shadow. ,200 meters. Let's see how well it survives splashdown with these 3 capsules together. So let's just reduce time warp as we go through the last 75 meters. I think Jeb's the only one upset because he wants to go back up again. Well, I'm sure you'll have plenty more missions, Jeb. Let's hope it was worth it for our tourist friends, even if we didn't experiment on them. 10 meters and splashdown. There we go. Excellent. Let's just rotate it round so our tourists get a little bit of a view. Now, what else have we got from our science alert? We can do an EVA report. You can EVA whilst you're on the surface, so let's just do that without upgrading your space center. We'll come back to that little trick in a minute. So let's get. Oh, there's no science while flying because we're hovering slightly. So let's just reset that. So let's just step back a little until we step off. There we go. Standing on Tanker's capsule. So let's do an EVA report from here for another 2.4 science while we are standing on Kerbin's water. So let's keep that. Let's then grab, and can we go back? No, we've grabbed the wrong one. So let's spacebar. We're going to have to jump up and up. Come on, up. Oh dear. Oh dear, Jeb. Come on, let's go for a swim, shall we? Let's go for a swim. Up you go. Up you go. No. Oh, we just have to. Oh, there we go. There we go. We've done it. Oh dear. Let's board. There we go. We've boarded. Right. We're sorted. Having left Tanker and Alette for a few seconds, let's go back to the Space Center and see our successful mission. Then we see the mission summary report. We have gained a total of 10.6 science for that mission, not very much, 1 thermometer reading and a few other EVAs, for a total of 40 science. We need 5 more science somewhere before we can unlock the next section in the tech tree. We recovered our command pods, and obviously thermometers, parachutes, engineering system and so on. And we returned our crew, and we now have experienced tourists, whatever that means, and 200 reputation. So that was rather successful. So let's just double check the individual contracts. We ferried the VIP safely to their destination. That was Tanker for 20 reputation. We got Tanker's fee. We got Alette and her reputation reward from her trip to her destination, and also her fee. And we also completed the actual ferry contract to get people into space. So that was rather successful for my first tourist experiment. Trip. So with that in mind, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.